Good morning, everybody. Republican candidate for Wisconsin's 73rd Assembly District race, Angie Sapik, is our very special guest today, Thursday, August 4th, 2022. I heard maybe somebody's having a birthday.
It's
Dryden,
my birthday!
Happy birthday. For DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden, and you're watching Meet the Candidate, a chance for a candidate running for an office to request to come on to chat with us and for all of you so we can all get to know the candidate. If you can't watch this entire show live, no worries. You can watch a recording of the show on our website at DrydenWire.com, our Facebook page. We usually put it on our Twitter page. Easy is probably just go to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/DrydenWire. Birthday. Awesome. Happy birthday. Angie, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I know. Where are you right now? I mean, are you
I'm
actually outside?
I am. I set up on my deck outside. I took the day off to talk to you.
Well,
and
it's your birthday.
I'm going to talk to Cheryl and Shirley also at 10:30. So
Who?
I have another podcast in a while. Cheryl and Shirley.
I don't know who that is.
I just met them the other night. They are fantastic ladies. So I get to do my first two podcasts today, which is exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then this afternoon I get to go down to Webb Lake and hang out with the Webb Lake Men's Club for my birthday. So I'm pretty excited. I get to do a bunch of fun stuff.
Holy cow. And here's what I'm most surprised by. So what city are you in right now?
I'm in Lake Nebagaman.
Yep, no, that is. But what I'm surprised by is you're outside and you have, I mean, we have people that are in their offices and all, and you know, the internet is just terrible. You're outside connected to Wi-Fi, and it's great. So good for you guys having.
Don't jinx it.
Yeah. So obviously, so you're running for this, the seat that is currently held by Nick Milroy. He announced a few months ago that he was not going to seek re-election. We can get into that in a minute, but first, for the people who don't know you, as in the person before you decided to run, before you were a candidate. Give us a little history about you.
My name is Angie Sapik. I live in Lake Nebagaman, and I moved to a few different states over the last 20 years or whatever. But I grew up, and now I'm residing in Nebagaman. This is my hometown, and like for my life, we set up roots here. I am married to my husband, Nathan. We have two little kids, Reba, who's 4, and Calvin, who's 5. And they start school this fall, so they're pretty excited. They get to ride the bus together. And I'm an onion broker. I haul produce across the U.S. and Canada every day. I probably have like 40 truckloads of onions on my desk at any given moment.
Hold on. We can't gloss over that. You said you're a what? An onion broker?
I'm an onion broker. So I'm
you're gonna have to explain
produce
that one.
buyer. So I buy onions on like a large scale and out of Washington, California, New Mexico, and I ship them into Minnesota and Wisconsin, and then they land at distribution centers, and then from the distribution centers they go to the grocery stores.
How long have you been doing this?
10 years.
Is it something that you're a kid going, lawyer, cop, firefighter, teacher, onion broker?
Right.
How did that come to be?
No. I did actually go to school to be an English teacher, but I decided that wasn't for me halfway through. And I ended up working for V's Marketing. It's actually started out as my dad's company. And my brother started working there as well. And it fell into place that I ended up working with my dad and my brother. So now we're the Onion Mafia up here.
Onion Mafia. That's crazy. I didn't even know that was a thing. But now I think about it, of course,
for
that's
people
totally
to
a thing.
specialize in like one specific thing is not uncommon at all.
Okay.
There's lettuce guys. There's we're the onion folks. There's the apple people. The produce industry is a very, very interesting and sort of like geeky industry. It's awesome. I love it.
So has the COVID and all of everything that went with that, how much did that impact that part of what you do, that business?
Oh, it was huge actually, and it taught me a lot about what like where things are going. So the restaurant industry just completely shut down, right? Like all the Cisco business was just at a complete standstill. The stock had plummeted, and all of a sudden grocery stores right through the ceiling. So it was a complete flip. So instead of it being a good balance of restaurants to grocery stores, the restaurants just completely stopped buying because obviously they're closed, and the grocery store sales went up like times 5
Okay.
because people were stocking too.
People were what?
Like people were stocking up. So nobody bought, like you don't go to the grocery store once a week anymore. But during
Right.
COVID, people would
Right.
go and
Right.
they would stock up.
So is this about time you said, "Oh, I need supplemental income. I guess I'll run for, I don't know, political office."
God, no.
All right. So actually, let's get to that part right there. Is the Nick Milroy had announced that he wasn't seeking re-election. I think it was in April. I'm sure I'm wrong, but it's right around there. Did
Yeah.
you make the decision or first have the idea to run before or after? Maybe you had the thought before, but wasn't really sure. And then it's like, well, not well, maybe. How did this all come to be?
Nick Milroy deciding to retire, quit, or, leave his position. That helped push me along, but I'm not really a very fearful person, and I'm not easily intimidated. So I was probably going to run against him either way.
Sure. And so you're in a primary race,
I am.
right? You have a Republican opponent. So
Yeah,
that's
sort
got
of.
to, what do you mean, sort of?
Well, yeah, you try to run your campaign like for yourself, right? Like
Yeah.
it's self-promoting. I know that I can do a great job. But when you have an opponent that his entire family is voted Democrat and donated to Tammy Baldwin, and all of a sudden they're all Republicans, it's a little fishy. So I think there's a little blood in the water here.
I've heard, and I don't know if it's accurate, I've heard more upsets happen in a primary race than in a general election. I don't know if you've heard that before. Do you have any ideas as to why? Which is perfectly fine. Like people can, like when I was younger, I was a Republican. I'm not anymore. I'm not a Democrat. But it's
Right.
not really that. So that's fine. People can kind of change.
That's a lot of people that really find themselves in the middle.
Yeah, yeah. That's
But
fine.
most people do tend to lean sort of one way or the other.
Yep. Certainly.
In this amazing two-party system that we have that we can't seem to shake ourselves from.
Yeah. And so that's got to be also a little frustrating. Like we have a sheriff's race in Washburn County, one in Sawyer County. So do you cover, so the 73rd now with the Dixon Street line, I think you picked up a lot of Burnett, right?
Yes.
Do you have anything?
Burnett and part of Washburn
Yep.
and Douglas County.
Okay, but nothing in Sawyer.
No.
No, okay.
No.
Well, then
there.
We have a few of these races, and they're all primary races. Like whoever wins this primary for sheriff in Sawyer is basically the next sheriff. There is a general election, but it's finished. And same with Washburn. So up there, and the same thing, a lot of these local races, there's no polling. Right? So you have no idea. I could be 15 points down.
Nobody
I could be 15 points up.
It's the Wild West. Like there's no polling. It's so weird. I'm obsessed with the sheriff's race. Like I have to tell you, I am obsessed with it. I had a dream the other night that Warren Tuttle asked me for a yard sign. Like I'm in it, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But I've talked to him and I've talked to Dennis, and I think that the sheriff's race is just wildly entertaining and so interesting, and I'm excited to see what happens because we have the same thing up here in Douglas County where it's 3 Democrats all running against each other, no Republicans, and we're gonna find out on Tuesday who gets to move on.
So Douglas County, is that typically a blue county?
Yes.
Well, all right. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to kind of put those things together. Right. Or maybe that's just because you have more Democrats up there, but Washburn is typically more red. So we have 2 people running, and they're Republican. Sawyer is typically more red. Yes. We have 3 people running. They're all running as Republicans. Douglas is typically more blue, and they're all running as Democrats. That's just, I don't know.
I can't speculate on it, but it seems It's interesting.
It's interesting. We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at interesting. So you are
But
running.
it's super fun, you know. You get to watch and everyone's fighting so hard, like, and the people that are
Some
running
are.
for sheriff up in Douglas County, that everybody gets along. There's nothing dirty, you know. Izzard is a great guy. Witt is a really great guy. They just, you know, it, whoever gets ahead is just it. They're gonna win, and they're gonna do a great job, and that's the bottom line. So really, it's a nice, clean race because people really do get to select between great candidates, and
Mm. In
that's a good
Douglas.
thing.
In Douglas?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Uh, so on that note, actually, because it is these races are being decided in 5 days.
Yeah.
5 days. And you have for you a Republican opponent. The Douglas has, as you just mentioned, 3 Democrats. Oh, so they're all. It's easy when it's I'm a Republican and they're a Democrat. All right. I mean, that's a lot right
Right.
there in
Then you're
terms of
just
like, okay.
then it's
But the primary race is
right.
when that's your only opponent and that's who's going to basically decide the election. You have to separate yourself some. So how do
Yeah, of
you
course.
separate yourself from, because if someone is like, I'm going to vote Republican. Well, there's 2 of them. Well,
Is there?
well, on the ballot, certainly.
Right.
So
So
what would you say separates you from your primary opponent?
I well, let's talk about it this way. So about like the way that we're campaigning. So this is a wide generational gap between my opponent and myself. He's 61. I'm 38 today, so I'm in my upper 30s now, officially. I held on to
We call
my
that
mid 30s.
early mid 30s.
That's it. Right, right.
Much softer.
So, but there's a huge difference in the way that we do things, right? So, his campaign style is knocking on doors, and I have a hard time finding time to do that as much as I should, and I have a hard time doing it really because it feels sort of intrusive. Like I wouldn't want someone to come knock on my door when I'm cooking dinner. So for me to go do that, and I'm doing it, but you know, I feel like doing things like social media, from Instagram to Facebook to videos to podcasts, and get the word out and let people know who I am and radio is a good way of doing it. And he's more the old school knocking on doors and that sort of thing. So that's just in the campaigning, that's a huge difference between the 2 of us.
And I saw that AFP, Americans for Prosperity, we had actually the state director, Eric Bott, on a couple of months ago.
I watched. He's great.
Yeah, and he was talking, because I literally didn't know much. And as you know, I even told you before this, when we were scheduling this, it was about a month ago, you asked to come on. I said, yeah, that's my last date, and it's that we have open, and it happens to be right before the election, that I don't really want to get to know you. I kind of want to learn, you know, organically. Right now, like during the show, that's when I kind of want to learn about somebody. So when I was asking Eric, so what does it mean when an AFP endorses you? And he goes, it means you have an army. And all of our science and our data, whatever he was saying, door knocking and face to face, that stuff matters a lot. So does that help you? Because they've endorsed you.
Yeah.
That alleviates some of the, I need to go knocking all the doors. It's all right. I can do the social media, a podcast, a radio, all that, because I got a team of people doing that for me now.
No, it's not like that at all. And when you get somebody like a group like AFP behind you, it doesn't give you the mindset that like, oh, I can relax a little now. It fires you up. Like it gets you more excited. Like, hey, I've got people in my camp now. It's not just me shoving my name down everyone's throat. Like I've got somebody else saying vote for Angie Sapik, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
But there's something else that comes with that too that I didn't realize until I started running. Is once somebody like Americans for Prosperity endorses you, you can't talk to them. Like you do like an initial interview, and then they contact you a month later after they, you know, do their digging and make sure that you're not a loon. And then they say, hey, we endorse you. Congratulations. We're going to help, but we can't tell you how. So I've heard that I've heard a radio ad from them. I just heard it yesterday. So I know they're doing that, but like, is anybody knocking on doors? How many radio ads? How much? I have no idea what they're doing. I'm not allowed to know.
Yeah, I guess I can kind of see why, but I feel like there's a little wiggle room there. But that would
It
be a
would
whole.
be,
That's a whole
it
other
would
thing, I
be
guess.
really
But
nice to
if we're
know what they're
endorsing
doing,
you,
because then I could balance what I'm doing on the other side.
yeah,
But
hmm.
that's not what it is.
It is what it is.
You just keep doing what you're doing and just keep fighting your way through. But having someone behind you like that is it really gives you even more drive, which is crazy because they're just so awesome. I love those guys.
Did they tell you? I mean, I'm sure you must have had like an interview process or something along
I
those
did.
lines. What was that like?
So it was June 1st. I was on the way down to Madison to bring my nomination papers because they say don't mail them, hand them in so you know that it's done, right?
Yep.
So I was on the way down to Madison. I had a meeting with them. So I pull over to a gas station and I did a Zoom call with Eric Bott and Megan and Annette Olson. And I was in my truck in this parking lot at like a holiday station, and there's semis everywhere. And I couldn't have my car on because then my voice is lagging on the Zoom call. So I turned the truck off, door closed. It's like 105. And I'm just like, I didn't know really who the group was. I read about them because they said they wanted to interview, but that's all I knew. So then we talked for a long time, and obviously it went really well. Eric Bott asked me if I had practiced my questions before they talked to me, because I think I did that well that they were like, wow, like she really is one of us.
But did you
And I
though?
really feel
Did you
like
really
I
though?
identify with what they're doing.
Did you practice?
No, I didn't know who they were.
Okay.
So I was like, do I do this? I don't know. Maybe I don't. And I was like, I said I was going to do it. Just pull over,
Sure.
because this is all brand new to me. I didn't understand the importance of it. But boy, am I glad that I talked to them, because they're very helpful.
So your decision to run, regardless of who was in, who's out, primary opponents, if Nick Milroy's in or out, the decision to run, usually it's because they see that their district is not being represented the way they feel it should be represented, or their county, or their city, or whatever it may be. So what did you see that you said, I can't let the current person or whomever is going to run? Well, in this case, I'm assuming it was probably more like Nick Milroy, but then you kind of made your decision after he was gone. It's, I want to put my stamp on this. What did you see that you wanted to be the one in that position to make some changes? What are those changes?
One big thing for me and I've been really politically loud my whole life, but I've never been politically active until now. I had a very hard time with how COVID was handled. We ended up getting COVID, and my daycare closed. They said you can't come, the kids can't come, even though your kids don't have COVID, they can't come in because of exposure. And we were like, well, we're home for this 2 weeks anyway, so that's fine. We'll keep the kids home. You still pay full price for daycare, which that's just what it is. But after we were done with our 2 weeks even, then the kids didn't have COVID, but they were technically exposed on our last day, on the 14th day. So then they had to stay home for 2 weeks after that. So we were out of work for a month. Like, you can't go to work for an entire month. And lucky for us, we're salary, we can work from home, we can alternate back and forth, but not everybody's afforded that ability to just not work, continue to pay for daycare, and be stuck at home with no money coming in. And I think that that's insanely wrong. I think that that's just one of many things with COVID that I think was handled very poorly. And I also had a hard time with my party because I feel like they sort of rolled instead of standing up for what generally I think my party would stand for.
What would you like to have seen the Republican Party do during that time?
Like the mask mandates, like if you want to wear a mask, people that have health issues, and I understand that, I do, but I think that forcing people to wear masks is completely inappropriate, especially when you're talking about 2- and 3-year-old kids who are just learning. And they're learning facial expressions and how people interact. And when you take that away, I think you're doing real damage.
Well, everything that you said makes perfect sense. I don't think anyone would disagree with what you said. The only way there'd be that pushback, which is also a legitimate point, would be, I get everything that you're saying, but if we did it that way, we would have seen a lot more deaths. How do you rectify that?
Yeah, I don't. I'm on that freedom train. I think that you have to just let people be. And if they want to take that risk, then that's a risk that it's up to them whether or not they want to take that risk. And I don't need government coming in and telling me what I need to do.
What? That always goes well.
Yeah, I know. I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Yeah. Did your phone drop?
Right.
Oh, I just left.
No, but the sun's coming over the house, so I had to move because I didn't want it to be like so blaring bright,
So what other things that? So let's say you win the primary, and then it's January. Boy, I should have looked that up. January 7th, 10th. You're sworn in office. What are your first 3 focuses?
Oh, but learning and meeting everybody. Of course, there's a huge learning curve on being the freshman in office. And it's like with everyone in the assembly, it's a standing joke because the new people that come in, it's a lot of seeing how the processes work.
And you got to do a budget right away, which I think is so silly. Why? Are you kidding? You know how many new people we're going to have likely in office with all the people retiring or not seeking re-election, I should say. And then walk in and, okay, do the Wisconsin state budget, please. That'd be great.
Right. So obviously you have to sit down and you talk with people that know the processes and there's a real learning curve in what you're doing.
So a lot of it is just that learning part. You've probably talked to a lot of some people that are, I guess I shouldn't assume that, but I am. You've talked to some people that are already in the legislature, or like Romaine, I've seen like pictures with you and he next at some events or something. So it's nice to, that networking part, right? Getting to know people that is going to be able to help you along the way. But what would you like to see happen? Like, okay, I know I'm a freshman and I'm still learning. I'm just here. We got to figure this out. But no joke, this stuff for my district, we need to start addressing right away.
You have to pull more money out of Madison. We have the absolute worst roads in the entire state up here. I think that people don't pay attention to Superior or Brule or Nebagaman because they think that Eau Claire is north. I'm 10 minutes from Lake Superior. I could swim to Canada. Like, we're north, So I think that we've just got to get as much money into this region as we can and have it dispersed appropriately.
Is that a realistic? I mean, that's a great idea and it's a great thing, right? Yeah. Pay attention to us up here.
Right.
But I think a lot of people have said that and it never really seems to happen.
That's the real talking point, right? Like, because it's all just like political talking points for so many people that are doing this. But I think that, and I've said this before, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. But if you've got an assembly person who's not really active and not doing anything, then of course nothing new is going to happen here. And it's easy to get in the assembly and do nothing, as we've seen for the last number of years.
Sure.
Let me see if I can set this up here again so that I'm not holding it. Okay, that's better.
Oh, perfect. Shoot, now I lost my train of thought. Oh, give me one more thing. So money, pay attention to us up here in northwest Wisconsin. Republican or Democrat, we all want that. So that one's yeah.
Right.
How about one more?
Yeah. I'm on that freedom train. I want less laws. And that was the number one reason that AFP liked me so much. I said, maybe somebody comes in and cleans house and pulls some of this legislation up and says, you know what? This isn't pertinent anymore. This doesn't make sense. We need to either revamp or repeal some of these things that are in place that don't make sense anymore.
Well, on that note, are there things that your party that you're running as a Republican that you look at your own party and go, folks, we gotta get with the times here. Like I'm a Republican, but we really need to stop thinking like Ronald Reagan Republican or the old school Republican. We need to be a little
Oh
more
yes,
progressive on a
again,
few things. Are there
I'm not
anything?
the I'm not the old school Republican, and I'm getting some flack for that because I'm not the what I would call like the ultra righty right, like I am a little more centralized in a lot of my views. So I it's going to be interesting to see
Well, if you
what
get
happens
what
here.
kind of pushback are there topics or issues that people Republicans, the righty rights, specifically don't like, or is it just you're young?
Uh, no, people really like that someone who's younger is coming in, even though I'm 38 as of, this morning. But um, no, let me think of an example. Um, like I'm a huge gay supporter, like LGBTQ. I go for it. I think it's awesome. And there's still some people on the very hard right that I've met that are not. And I just, I might lose some votes for that, but
You
I
got to be
can't be
you,
on that train.
right?
I got to be me. And if I don't win because of something like that in 2022, then I don't want it, you
Hmm.
know? But I think that the entire world is changing. And I think that as people get older and the younger generations are coming up, this we're we're better. We're better humans. And I just stand up for what I believe in.
Hmm.
And if people don't like it, then they can
Vote for someone else.
do whatever they would like to do.
Yeah, perfectly fine. What about marijuana? That's always a thing that Republicans at some point.
Oh,
It's
super hot topic,
goodness
right?
gracious, yeah.
Yeah, super hot topic. I'm running on a campaign that I am pro business. And you know what? I'm pro cannabis. I'm pro weed. There's gotta be So in saying that, I want to be a little more careful because I don't think that we just like bam, everything's just, free for all,
Right.
because you have to slow roll into it. But I'm not against it by any means. I think that we need some legislation to open things up for people to run their businesses and not have problems where there's constant changing rules on how much THC you can have. So like my friend Craig had to do all this rebranding on stuff that he had already had finished because the laws change. So then he's spending money because he's just got to keep up with whatever laws they put into place, even though, you should be grandfathered in if you already have product that's made or whatever the situation may be. I think that it's being handled in Madison maybe not as clean and concise as it could be.
You seem to have a little libertarian in you.
Uh, just a smidge.
Just okay. Maybe I was misreading that. And that's honestly, if that's like the closest box, like a conservative libertarian. But I'm not a libertarian. But that I'm a little more leaning towards that than anything else. I still haven't figured out what I am. I don't know if there is a
Yeah.
category for me
You
yet.
know what? I think it's good to not label yourself so much as one thing or another. Obviously, I'm running on
Well, you
the
have to, right?
Republican
Yeah.
ticket. I'm mostly Republican. I consider myself more of like the new Republican Party, right? Because things are changing.
Mm.
But I don't, most people, you've got like the 10% people on the right who are, they're very like they check all the boxes, right? And then you've got the people at 10% on the left who check all like
We call
the
all those people
left
crazies.
boxes,
Yep.
right? So
I mean, I'm sorry, not just the left. I mean, we when you're so far on one, which is fine, right? If that's what you want to do, fine.
Right, but most people find themselves in the middle, and I think that the very extreme on both sides is really sort of dangerous, for one. And also, I think that media really sticks with those people
Yeah.
because it's polarizing
You betcha.
and problematic and trauma. All of that gets views,
Yeah.
right? So when you look at the media, it's like, we're so polar opposite in this country, but we're really not. A lot of people find themselves in the middle, and I think that I'm really sort of the candidate that fits that mold. I'm not just the super right-wing conservative. I have a lot of liberal views as well. I consider myself, I a little libertarian. I'm on that freedom train, So I'm out here doing what I can and sharing how I feel. And if people align with me, then, they get to vote for me. And I think that's great.
When you going back to knocking on doors,
Yeah.
when because you have knocked on doors, of course. What's when you go up and you knock on the door and give me your spiel? Like, what's the first thing that you say? I'm Angie, and I'm running for this, or I'm a Republican, and I'm doing.
You try to keep it short because, like I said, you really are like you're knocking on someone's door when they're cooking dinner, or they're spending time with their family, or they're working, or whatever the
Yeah, it's
case may
never a
be.
convenient time to have somebody
It's
randomly
never
stop
a
over.
convenient time,
Never.
right? Like people are wrestling their dogs, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm running for assembly here, But I have great experiences doing it as well. So this isn't, it's not all like that. But I give people my lit. So I've got like a trifold pamphlet. I've got a couple other things. I say, here's some information about me. You're obviously not going to stand there and read and go over everything. So you say, I'm running for assembly. I'm on the Republican ticket. And I have a very important primary coming up. And here's some information about me. My email is below. If you would like a yard sign or if you would like some more information, my email is here. Call me. Whatever, send me a message.
Here's
I'm an open book.
an absentee ballot. I can fill it out for you.
Oh, yeah, right.
I mean, at this point, why not? Have you? I'm sure you're going to get some people that you're a Republican. You say I'm a Republican. You're going to get all right. All I needed to know, as in either I'm probably going to vote for you, or I will, or get off my porch.
I've never had to get off my porch, which thank goodness, I have walked up to a couple of houses and I pivoted. It's okay. Maybe this one is someplace that I should be like carrying a handgun to protect myself. So I'm gonna skedaddle.
Sure.
But
is it when you say that you're a Republican? Is that usually received well, or if you say you're Republican and they say I'm just going to vote for you right now? Are you like, fantastic? See ya.
Well, of course, that's awesome. That's what you want, right?
Sure.
But I like when people are engaging and they ask questions and they want to know more instead of just are you a Republican? Because obviously my opponent is doing the same thing. And if he gets to a house first, they're like, oh, you're a Republican, we're going to vote for you. Then I lost that person. So
True.
For people to do a little digging about their candidates is good. Which also, I think it's really important to know. I think the primary election is just as, if not even more important than the general, because if you don't get the right people in the first place, then you've already lost.
That is important. And, I never thought about it that way. But you're 100% right. Because we do get upsets in primaries.
Right.
And that may be great for the primary, and everyone got what they wanted, but it's, oh, wait. But how's that going to play out in 3 months? But then again, you don't want to, that's tricky, though, because you don't really want to, I'm going to vote for this person in the primary, even though I don't know if they're not my favorite, but I think they could beat the next. Yeah, that's weird.
Right.
That's for each
individual person. Another thing, too, is people, and I'm guilty of doing this too. Like in a primary, it's like, okay, I'm going to vote for this person or I'm going to vote for Angie Sapik. So whoever you like better. But one, I think that I am a better candidate. I think that I have a lot of really great connections, and I think that I have my wits about me. And I'm not a pushover. I'm strong, and I think that those are all really great qualities for this. But I think that people in a primary are so concerned about just who's running against each other that they maybe lose sight of the end game. And this really comes down to who can beat Laura Gapsky in the end, who's running on the Democratic ticket. It's only her unopposed. And when you look at me versus Scott, who's really going to be able to take out Laura in the end, it's going to be me. I think you have to fight fire with fire. And having two younger women in their 30s go head to head for this position is the way to do it.
That would be, I think, I think that would be fun. Not fun. I don't mean fun, but kind of. That would be good to see.
Yeah.
I'm not saying,
No, it's fun.
vote for you just so we can
And
see
it
that.
garners
But
more
you know what?
attention.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah. So speaking of that, being a woman, and you said you had some liberal views and you have a few other things. You're in the assembly. Are you voting for, like you get elected, are you voting to keep our current laws on the books regarding abortion? Or is there
boy.
wiggle room here? I know that's kind of a heavy one, and we usually don't do like that heavy of a question.
It's
But
so,
I can't ask like male people for the most part because we don't get an opinion, which is
why
fine.
not?
I'm told I can't, which is fine. I
There's
don't
no
want an
such
opinion
thing
on
as
that.
gender anymore.
No, whatever my wife says is fine. So where do you stand on that? Is it nope? Everything is nope, nothing.
No,
or there's some wiggle room.
I answered this yesterday. A gal asked me, and I gave a heavy answer, and she said, "But you didn't really answer my question."
Well,
Like,
see,
well,
you're a politician already.
I said, "Well, I'm getting good at this, right?" I really think that because this has come down to the state level, right? So there's different laws in Wisconsin, or like Idaho, obviously is going to be a lot more pro-life than, let's say, New York standing laws. So no matter what, no matter where you are, I think it's necessary for people to sit down and look at the laws that are there and determine as a group if those laws are strong enough to hold on their own, or if you need to have some exceptions or some loopholes or something, because really it's about people, and you have to let people and their doctors really determine on a case-to-case basis, because I don't think that you can blanket everything with this full pro-life blanket, because there's very small scenarios where I think that it's maybe not necessary but helpful. And I think that in the business of helping people, doctors should be able to do that. But but in saying that, the majority of abortions are for convenience. Let's be real about that. We could talk about rape, we could talk about incest, we could talk about health issues or organs not developing correctly, things like that, which are obviously very, those are pertinent things. But the majority of abortions are done out of convenience, and that's unfortunate, I think.
So that's one of the things about laws I've noticed is it helps some people and it hurts others. It isn't just about if they like it or don't like it. It's
right.
So how are you going to handle that? When actually someone already just said not true, so I'm assuming that must be about what you were saying. And I don't want to get into all of this. I mean, we're almost up against our time.
Oh, I'm not reading the comments because it's distracting. So
that's fine. So it was
just
about. I'm assuming that was about the rape, incest, and etc. But the majority of abortions are done
out of convenience.
Right. I've never looked into it, so I have no clue.
With me on that.
That's perfectly fine.
I'm not for everyone.
No. Again, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So when one law, it'll help somebody. If our current laws in Wisconsin, abortion, or currently right now marijuana or whatever it is,
right,
it helps people and a lot of people like it, and then it hurts other people and a lot of people don't like it. There's not that many laws that actually it's just universal. Everybody wins. There is no loser here. That doesn't happen very often. So how do you weigh that? How do you just, I want to look at who is it going to help the most? Is that how you kind of weigh what you would want to kind of be by? How do you? I
don't think so.
I don't know either.
No, because you can't be like, who is it going to help the most? Like I don't know. That doesn't work. You have to make it open so that people in extreme scenarios have options. You can't force people to do things. And that includes,
Yeah, I get it. So I'll wrap it up with this question.
But it's a tough subject. I talk about it every day. It's a big deal.
And that's typically like the third rail, right? And you never talk about that.
It's
But
difficult because
it
everyone
is.
has an opinion
Yeah,
and not everyone can be right, but the answer is somewhere in the middle.
usually. Usually.
Yeah.
So I will leave, not on that topic, but the last political thing here is if everyone in your district, you're elected, and there's a referendum or not, there's some kind of a polling thing or something, and you know it's a very accurate poll, and everybody in your district gets a chance to vote, and 85, 90% of these people say, we, whatever, don't want marijuana legalized. Well, we'll just use that one, for example, which I know, because I
Okay.
know that wouldn't happen. But
Oh, right.
90% say no, and you had just said, no, I think we should. What do you do? Do you listen because
Uh,
you're representing the district, but it's, yeah, but no, that's not right.
I've said this a lot of times in my entire campaign because people ask me where I am on a lot of different issues.
Sure.
And I have to tell you, if you if whatever it is you're talking about gives you more freedom, that's where I'm at. Like I less government intervention, more freedoms, and that's it.
When did you officially get into or when did you announce that you're running?
I Yeah, I didn't even really do like a big announcement. I just started working. Like I started working right away. I want to say that it was around May 12th
Okay,
or
so about
something.
May. What
Yeah, May
would
sometime in May.
what would Angie Sapik today, August 4th, if she could, go back and tell Angie Sapik May 1st, right before you decided, mentally you were there. I'm doing this. What would you go
Yeah.
back? What would you tell yourself if you could?
I would tell myself that it's going to be really hard and there's going to be peaks and valleys, but you're going to make it through. And every little thing that's difficult is just one small hurdle at a time.
That's like every day at our house.
But it's every day.
just, just get through the
I'm
day, dude.
campaigning super hard every day.
Get
So like,
through.
but it's ebbs and it's peaks and valleys. It's difficult sometimes but it's so rewarding at the same time. I've met so many people in doing this. I've learned a lot about myself in doing this. And I wouldn't change it for the world. But it has been a learning experience and very difficult. But I'm doing it and I think that we're doing really well.
But again, we don't know.
But we don't know.
We don't know.
There's no way to know.
I know. Look at you're talking about the sheriff's race here in Warren Tuttle. You brought up that dude's been everywhere for like 9 months. He has
Oh,
knocked on pretty
so
much every door. He's been at every fest, been at every meeting, he's done all these things. But does that win an election? We don't know. Nobody knows. Like we have
I
no
don't
idea. He could
know.
lose by 20
But
points.
the people that are on his team, it's like what is it? Lady Gaga, she calls her fans like the little monsters, right?
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
people who are
Right.
on Warren Tuttle's team,
Yeah.
like they're the Tuttles. Like they are
Team
Team
Tuttle.
Tuttle.
I know it's
Like
great.
the people that are really gung ho for him, like they mean business. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, no kidding. And we'll all be watching your race as well on Tuesday night. If people want to go and find out more information about you, where do they go?
My Facebook page, Facebook, Instagram.
Facebook,
That's it.
Instagram, just Angie Sapik, Sapik.
Angie Sapik for Assembly. Yep.
For Assembly. Is there anything that we didn't get a chance to talk about that you wanted to make sure that we talked about?
No, I think that in closing, I think the big thing that I really, really want to pinpoint is the primary is sometimes even more important than the general. You have to get the right person on the ballot. And if you want Laura Gapsky to not take this seat, you have to put a woman versus a woman. And you have to vote for me because I'm the only person that has the ability to beat her.
Thanks so much for coming on. Been an absolute
Thanks for
pleasure.
having me.
Okay, special thank you to our guest today, Republican candidate for Wisconsin's 73rd Assembly District, Angie Sapik, for joining us for a chat. Thanks for all the comments. For DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden. We'll see you back here next Tuesday for our latest episode of Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy Show. Until then, thank you for watching and have a blessed day.